Hi, my name is Rashid Brown again, and this is my informative speech. This is my audience, and my speech is going to have a lot to do with technology today, so I hope you enjoy it. Again, work with technology at the exchange, so had a lot of influence on it. Thank you. Okay, so my speech is on modems and routers and how they tie into the internet, and actually, the speech is also on the internet itself. So, why did I choose my speech? Well, I don't think a lot of people know too much about modems and routers and how important they actually are, depending on what you're doing. Modems and routers have a lot to do with the computers we use all the time, the phones we use all the time, pretty much any technology that we have. Personally, I believe that the internet itself is one of the most important advancements in humanity, one of the most important creations that man has ever made. One of them. Without internet, most devices wouldn't function properly, or they wouldn't even be able to function to their full potential. Um, so, what's the difference between a modem and a router? Modem stands for modulation and demodulation. That's basically the data between computers and the signal from a telephone pole. And you put that together, you have a modem. It intakes all that data and signals. The router directs the data. So together, the modem receives the internet, and the router actually distributes the internet to all of your devices, the Xbox, the computer, and the phone. Um, the internet is distributed to a certain address known as an IP address. That's going to be Internet Protocol. The IPv that America is actually on, or the Internet Protocol version that the internet or that America is on, is actually IPv4. There is an IPv6, but only some people in the world, a couple of people in the world, countries that is, have already moved on to IPv6, and I'm not actually sure why we're still on version 4. I don't think a lot of people are. Basically, what the version is it gives you these IP addresses to use for your internet and for your modem to actually distribute. So once we run out of that, then we'll have no choice but to upgrade. But it's okay. We're still not that close to running out of IP addresses. It's just getting taken up more and more. Um, so the internet is distributed to the IP address, which is what's intook by your actual modem, and then distributed by your router. So the router is actually what secures your IP address and gives you that code that you see where you go to sign into your friend's internet, you're looking for it, you ask him what name it is, and he tells you. That's what your router does. Um, Gives you your secure address. Then you have things like NAT, the network address translation. That's basically to reamp your IP address. A lot of people don't do that unless they really want to upgrade or make their IP address super secure. So, yeah. Then there's DNS, which is the domain name server. An example for that would be Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not the actual name of the website. The website's name or IP or address is actually a whole bunch of letters and numbers that were created when the website was first made. And then it's given this name or DNS later on, and that's where they get it from. So there are two main models of modem and router. There's AC and N. Well, there's three now. They've moved into CM, but you won't see a lot of CM modem routers out there. AC is going to be the better one. N is going to be the not so good one because it's an older model. You always want to get, with any technology, you always want to get something that is the newer model, and that's going to be AC. The reason the newer model is better is because it uses 100 megabytes, which is the amount of gigahertz it's going to go off of. The more gigahertz, the better. The other one, the N series, is only 450 megabits. Megabits are lower than megabytes. They're not the same. People always get that confused. If you take 160 megabytes, that's going to be about 1331 megabits. So you can see that's more than half than what the older model has. So that makes a big difference in your internet. Next, we have bands. You have your dual band, your tri-band. People are moving in the quad band, and they're even trying to make a 5-band router and modem. What your bands are is another example. When you go to your friend's house again, and you see that there's one name for an internet, and there's another name that looks exactly like it, but it has 5G, which is going to stand for 5 gigahertz after it. That's going to be the faster internet for one. For two, that's going to be the second band. Sometimes you'll see 3 of the same looking names with a slight difference at the end. That's going to be the tri-band, and so on and so forth. What that is, basically, what I like to give working in the technology department at the Navy Exchange, the example I'd like to give to customers is if I'm speaking to you and you want information from me about routers, I can explain it, I can talk to you, have a nice flowing conversation between two people. But then if like 2 more customers come up and start asking me questions, I have to start answering to all 3 of you. So the information I'm giving out is slowing down, you see? So the more devices, the more it slows down. Internet can never be built up, it always slows down. So the more bands, the better. If I have 2 bands, that means I have 2 employees to handle these 3 people. 3 bands is better because then we can all individually handle the customer. So that's another thing that goes into the internet. We've actually come a pretty long way from modems and routers, so it doesn't sound like this anymore. So for those of you that don't know what that is, that's a really old modem, the AOL type, dinosaur thing. So basically what that is it's called a dial-up modem. I don't know if anybody will remember that, probably because a lot of people are older than me. Not saying you guys are, but basically what those noises are is it trying to find these IP addresses that I was speaking about, the different internet that it needs to intake to give to the router to give out. But back then it was just the modem. This actual sound right here that's going to be the sound that it makes when it actually makes a connection with an internet provider. The actual dial part is exactly what it sounds like. It's pretty much it putting in a number. So it's dialing some country. It's weird because the amount of numbers it gives actually makes it seem like the number it's calling is in Sweden, but it just gives that many because that's the most that a number can have. So it sends out that signal and the signal comes back. Once it hits that static point, that means that it's made a connection. So I just thought that was a little interesting, but that concludes my informative speech. I hope you all learned a lot about modems and routers and how important it is to your internet, and maybe even different ways to shop for them and know which one to have. Go for AC, never go for the N series. Thank you.